never had success with open houses, whether they're busy or slow. I've never. Well, my mom and I,
Right? Yeah.
We've never been able to find clients from it, and we find people that are chatty, some people that are not, and they just want to, look around.
Well, you guys are very chatty, and and,
yeah, we like to talk.
And very personable, So.
Try to be.
Well, and that's and it's interesting. There's some that are like that, and some that are, that all of a sudden you hit it off with someone, and some you don't even know that you hit it off that well, but then all of a sudden you follow up with them, and all of a sudden, wow. They become a more serious prospect or a client. So we'll talk about some things like that. And have you done any open houses?
I do them every weekend.
Every weekend? Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's great. Where or do you primarily do them anywhere or just?
Yeah, for the most part. I have one in Highlands Ranch this weekend.
Good.
The last 2 weekends I've done one for Allie over in Aurora.
Nice. So what has your experience been? How has your success been?
I haven't.
You haven't?
No.
You haven't had any prospects yet?
Not really. It's a lot of nosy neighbors. Yeah.
Okay.
Really.
What? How long have you been in the business?
Since June of last year.
Since June of last year? Okay. All right. And you're doing open houses regularly?
Yeah.
And then do you have a list of people that you're following up with now that are kind of on a just a drip campaign or just a newsletter list?
There's a couple.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's good. I mean, if you keep doing them, you're gonna get. Eventually, you're gonna have some success, and you're gonna have people. I mean, I remember years where I've had people that it was a year later that I sent them my newsletter every month because they actually gave me their address, and sent them my newsletter, and then a year later they called me up. They wanted me to list their house and help them buy another place, and so it was great, right? So those things can happen sometimes, and most. And we'll talk about this a little bit too, but there's some other things in the outline. But most buyers, I would say, are, they're minimum 3 months to 6 months down the road. Okay, so it's building your pipeline so you have future business. There's a few that are, a little more urgent, but most of the time it's one of the first things they do. They go online, search for homes, and then they start kicking the tires, right? So they're just kind of getting started. And so some don't know exactly what they want. So they're at a place where, and I'll share an example with you in a moment that I have that was pretty interesting, but, just keep with it, and hopefully some ideas here that we'll share, that everyone will share will help you as well to try to get. Now, are you getting people to sign up to register?
That's something that me and Paul talked about last week.
Okay.
That I don't like asking for information. That's one of my downfalls. And so trying to play with different ideas of how to get their information but not feel like I'm going to spam them.
Right. Okay. All right. Anyone else have any ideas? And you can actually say that. Say, I told her, I'm not going to spam you. I don't have time for that. And this, we like to have you register so we can give feedback to the seller is one thing. And got some other ideas we'll share with you too that I've used.
Have you seen those open houses offering to participate in a raffle?
Yeah, I've done that, and that's one of the things I would recommend. Yeah.
I'm considering that.
Starbucks cards. I've done Amazon gift cards. I might up it a little. It depends on the house, right? And maybe there's a new restaurant in town. Gift certificate, the neighbors, and we'll talk about that too. But some ideas for that, because I think that's a good way to have something, and even beforehand, before the open house, promote that. So yeah.
Can I say something real
Yes,
quick,
go ahead.
Greg?
Go ahead.
I just wanted to quickly introduce you.
Oh, okay.
And let people know who you are and say thank you.
Sure.
This is Greg Tiffin, and he has been with Equity since almost the beginning.
Beginning of
2009,
time.
2010.
Yeah, 2009.
And I will just quickly say, Greg, he's a true professional. And I know how busy you were. You moved closing to 8 a.m. to be here today. And I just wanted to say thank you for sharing your expertise today. My pleasure. Yeah, I'm happy. It's great to see you guys. It's great to be here. And it's about sharing. It's about information because we all learn from each other. So we'll talk about things and have discussions, and hopefully
you'll get some ideas that'll help you be more successful in your next open house. And one of the things is why the heck do we do open houses? Sometimes they're a pain in the butt. Why do we? Because it's a Saturday morning. You got your kids or you got whatever, and they got a soccer game, and at 9 o'clock, and you're trying to get that done, and then you're I don't have kids. My kids are all grown, but you know what I mean. They're so I'm sure there's a lot of challenges that we have. Or just you've got other clients, other buyers you're working with that you need to schedule in, and then you're trying to get an open house for your listing, or you want to keep the pipeline going. So, and then you get your signs up, and then hoping somebody's going to show up, right? So, but why do we do them? Serving our sellers is number one, showing you activity that you're working for them. Although the percentage of open houses I've done over the years that the actual buyer that came to me to write a contract has probably been very, very small. I do see a lot of times in serving the seller that another agent will send their buyer because they're out of town the buyer comes into the open house for that listing. Okay, I've seen it a lot, and it helps to see activity when that buyer comes in, because if you have people looking around, they kind of it's like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of people looking at this house. I better jump on it, right? The other thing that's happened, I've seen, we're advertising the open house. A buyer came in and they wanted to write an offer before the open house because they didn't want anyone else to see it. So they wrote a really nice offer for the seller. So those things can happen in serving your sellers, right? And getting just exposure for the property in your advertising on social media, through the MLS, through the web portals. All those things are great ways to serve your seller. And then we meet buyers, right? We meet buyers. I know you've had some challenges as far as getting people to sign up, and we'll talk about those things too. But we do meet buyers, and according to NAR's profile of buyers and sellers, 49% of buyers end up going to an open house in their search. Okay? They start online searching properties, and then they go and kick the tires, right? They want to go and see the properties in certain neighborhoods. And then, of course, sorry, my outline is a little messed up, but connecting with your sphere. If it's in an area where you are working and you have a lot of friends in that area or family, it's a way to connect with your sphere. It's also a way to reach out to your sphere, let them know you're doing an open house, that you're doing these activities, especially being new and in the business. It's a good way to email them your open house or post on social media that you're doing the open house. So a good way to connect with your sphere, and they see you busy doing that activity. And then, of course, developing a future pipeline of business. That's really the main reason that we're doing it, right? So some success stories. One of mine that really stands out is, sorry, I hate those things popping up, is I had an open house in Highlands Ranch, and this was 2008, 2009, and the market there was a lot of inventory. It was building a lot from the 2008, the mortgage meltdown, and we all know about that, right? And so it was in Highlands Ranch, and wasn't particularly busy. And this client was relocating out of state, and I probably had 3 visitors the whole open house for 2 hours, right? But one of the visitors came in. It was a woman and her mother. They were from California, and we talked and hit it off, and they didn't know where they wanted to live, and so they ended up buying they needed to see Lakewood, Green Mountain, Wash Park. Her husband works at that time working for Wells Fargo, so they needed to be close to downtown where he worked, and so they ended up buying a place in Wash Park. Okay. Well, that one open house guest referred me several people, and those people referred me several people. So that one guest led to 26 transactions. I counted them up, all the people and I'm probably even missing some, but over the years, 26 transactions from that one guest when only 3 people showed up for the open house. So it doesn't necessarily matter how busy it is if you connect with someone and they trust you and they want you to help them. So Anyone else have any? I mean, you've been doing open house a lot, but you haven't had success yet.
Mm-hmm.
But you will. You will. Anyone else have success stories they want to share with during their open houses they've had? Any business you've gotten yet or anything? Okay.
Very first.
You've done what you. Yeah.
Very first open house I ever did.
Uh-huh.
Very first person that ever walked through the door.
Uh-huh.
It took me 2.5 years to get her closed. But this today, I'm on our fifth transaction with.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Fifth transaction. Nice. Yeah. See, there you go.
So I was like, that's the best 3 hours I ever spent.
Right, exactly. And the other nice thing about them, they don't cost a lot of money. Right? There are some things that you can invest in to try to make the open house better. And we'll talk about that and things you can do. But that's a great story. I mean, it takes a while, 2.5 years, right, for them. Yep. But then 5
and she
transactions.
was following up with me all the time, but she's like, no, not ready.
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
Looking away.
Yeah, very cool. Well, I think one of the things and we'll talk about this when we talk about the showtime and being there with people. But one of the things I think that there's some fears we have, and there's some fears that the open house guests have as well, and ways to break the ice with that. That's something we'll talk about too. But so pre-open house preparation. So finding homes to hold open. I think you guys all know about the Equity Facebook group, and you can reach out to other agents or agents more personally. Reach out to them. If you have your own listing, of course, that's certainly a great opportunity if the seller is open to having an open house. And then, of course, preferably the location for your open house should have reasonable access. So you don't have 28 turns or you have to put 40 signs up because most of us probably don't have 40 signs, right? So something with reasonable access that is accessible and for sign placement. And of course, other brokerages listings, you can reach out to them too. So other brokerages that are in an area that you want to work. And some of our Facebook group, that's an area where you could reach out to potential other agents for potential listings as well. Consistency, if you want to work in a specific area, consistency in an area will help get your name out there more. So if you're consistently working in the same place every week, they're gonna start to recognize you. And if there's enough listings in that area or of a certain close proximity, not a bad idea. If you want to, your future goals are to farm an area, that's a great way to get started as well. So is anybody doing that? Anybody farming an area or consistently doing open houses in the same subdivision or relatively near the same subdivision? Okay. Just what's available, right? Because listings have been kind of sparse, right? So, okay. All right. If you can, consistency is great if you can do that. So what are some things that we can do to, the pre-marketing game plan? How do we get it to where we get more people at our open house? We get some exposure for ourselves and for our seller or for the open house activity. So RE Colorado, if it's not your listing, have the listing broker enter in the open house date, because those open house dates in RE Colorado will feed into Realtor.com on the listing, as well as Zillow and Homes.com. Okay, so those three big ones. And then one of the things that we were just talking about a moment ago was having a drawing. And I've done drawings where I've done as little as a $25 Starbucks gift card, and people are like, well, I need my coffee, right? so they've signed up for that, to a $100 Amazon gift card. Those things are nice little things that people can sign up and have a little sign there. I've done it with a little sign and a QR code where people basically they open the QR code and they register with that. Okay, for that. I've also used, and we'll talk about in a moment, I use the app from KB Core or Bold Trail. There's an open house app that you can use for registering people electronically. And then it automatically puts them in the system and sets up a drip campaign automatically. But a drawing is nice. Stuff that people want for that particular time of year. Yeti stuff, inexpensive. Well, no Yeti stuff is inexpensive, but a nice mug or, a smaller cooler, those type of things, depending on what you want to invest in it and what kind of draw you expect for that open house. Those are things that can be nice little drawings. Okay? And people will sign up for them. When you're doing a drawing, I like to get their information and then deliver to them right after the open house, if possible. Okay. If it's a more expensive item, then you may want to collect a few open houses. Say we're doing the drawing for this month, right? And so if it's something that's maybe of higher value, as our dog tells us, when it's a high value treat, they really like it. They really do whatever they can for us to get that treat. So.
Did you promote the drawing or the raffle before the open house? Yeah.
I've done it.
Your social media anywhere else?
Yeah, I've done it a couple different ways. When I've had time to get social media ads in, and that's where we want to do that 2 to 3 days prior, at least. Then I promote it on social media, as well as in some instances I've sent postcards out if there's enough lead time, enough time between when you can get that done to the neighborhood, to 100 houses in the neighborhood. And I've also gone door to door and dropped off flyers door to door to, in many cases, I've only been able to do like 25 homes, but if you could do up to 100 homes, you could have a really great turnout from the neighbors at your open house. And it might necessarily just not that we try to get my tongue untwisted. It may not necessarily be the neighbors that buy the house, but they have friends that maybe they want to move to the area. So if you go and drop off that flyer door to door advertising the open house, it really helps to get a good turnout. And then that promotes the drawing as well. So you put that drawing on there so they'll come in and register for that. So ways you can get tools for that, for the materials are on Equity's Elevate site. There's marketing materials where you can do flyers for open houses. There's also Breakthrough Brokers, one I use a lot for marketing materials. Do you guys have one that you like to use for your marketing materials for open houses? Have you used any of those? Equity Elevate, or do you know where they're at?
I've used Equity Elevate before. They're really easy.
It's real simple. Yeah. It's real simple to put the information in there. And it's already got all your stuff in there for the most part, and you just modify that. Breakthrough Broker will do mailings, they can do the postcards for the open house. But you're going to need probably 10 days for that. So you'd have to really know well in advance that you're going to promote the open house. But I really do like the gift cards and something that fits with that neighborhood or that neighborhood. If there's a new restaurant that opens up, or depending on the time of year, maybe for Mother's Day, if you were doing an open house this weekend, maybe it's something for Mother's Day, a Mother's Day theme of some sort, flowers or a gift card for something like that, or a restaurant Mother's Day. Even though they may not use it that day, it kind of ties into that theme. Valentine's Day, of course, that's tying those things into the neighborhood or the time of year, the seasonality. So on Facebook, what I typically do is I'll put it on my business page, and then I'll share that with my personal page as well, my personal feed, and then also the Equity group, and then also the Smedra group is a good option for sharing your open house, especially if it's your listing, but also just showing your activity, even if it's not your listing. Posting those things out there shows you're active, and you'll find that agents that see you and more active, they'll be more apt to, and what you're doing with their open house, they'll want you to do their older houses open. Okay. I haven't used Nextdoor, but some people do. I don't know if you guys have done anything with Nextdoor in any neighborhoods that you're part of, but that's another option for advertising options for you. The Facebook ads can be done through Bold Trail or KB Core. They'll do a Facebook ad for you. You can do it yourself. Breakthrough Broker can do Facebook. There's Back at You, that's through the referral maker, through the Buffini system. You can advertise open houses through them as well. So there's a lot of ways you can do that. And with KB Core, it's typically, they'll need at least 3 days before the open house for them to get it. It's ready right away, of course, but then to promote it. And there's different price points depending on how many impressions you want to get. What KB Core does is it will take the information, people that respond to online, and it'll feed into your KB Core system. some of those are very, very cold leads, and they kind of just sit there for a while and cultivate, and some become prospects, right, for real prospects. So, but those are options for you to promote your listing or to promote your open house. Other things that I've done, there's AdWorks is a program that's a retargeting program. It's pretty inexpensive, and basically you put the zip code that the open house is in. It's going to anyone that's searching in that zip code on other sites, ESPN, Fox, CNN, a bunch of different sites. They're going to it's going to populate in a little advertisement. So kind of a neat thing. I've done it. Just advertise your open house on that. Kind of a fun thing to do. You get the more places you can get exposure, the better for an open house. If it's your own listing, or what I do for my own listings, I use Zip Your Flyer, and I send out the advertisement of the just listed and the open house through Zip Your Flyer, and that goes out to, depending on how many areas you select, that goes out to all the agents. And it's interesting. I get some, according to Zip Your Flyer, the open rate is pretty good, and so it's something, and you can show that to your seller, that you have this percentage of people opening, agents opening. If it's not your listing, I wouldn't do that, because that's just agent to agent type marketing. And of course, the neighbors, we talked about door knocking with an invitation and flyer. That 100 if possible. I'd say a minimum of 25 if you walk the neighborhood and deliver those. And then the flyer or postcard. And you got to check the timeline, of course, but I would say at least 7. I'd plan on 10 days to try to get that printed and then mailed out by the mailing service. And do first class, because third class is going to take weeks to get there. Right. So, here's the, and of course, contact any leads or sphere that might have an interest in your, in that particular house. So any leads you have in your system, contact your sphere of influence directly, as well as with a direct email. That's a good way to promote your open house. Here's the Equity Marketing Center, and it's very simple. You've got open house, social posts, flyers, postcards, and some other helpful sign-in sheet as well. There. Okay. Back. There we go. And then Breakthrough Broker is another one I use, and that's where actually the equity marketing goes through Breakthrough Broker, but it's included with your stuff. You don't have to pay extra for it. So, but they've got a lot of postcards, different options as well. Breakthrough Broker, and oops, that's Bold Trail. Let me go back to. There we go. All right. Any questions on that? As far as kind of some marketing prep or anything that you guys, any ideas that you have or any questions you have on that? No. Okay. All right.
Which marketing system that you use, you notice more activity or more of a successful?
When I ask open house guests what they say they see it online or social media. So that seems to be the most. I have had good turnout though from postcards for a neighborhood. I've had a couple very good successful things where the postcard we had time to send it out, because that's usually the biggest challenge is trying to find time, because especially the way the market's been for the last few years, listings sell so fast that there's not time to do that. But I've had good success with that too. And then doing the flyers, it's an opportunity to meet people, and then I've had people come in for a pretty good turnout from that as well. So, but most people say they've seen it online or social media, so they'll see on Realtor.com or Zillow or RE Colorado. That's where they'll see it from there. Especially the more, I would say, the buyers that are more engaged in the market, are more serious. Yeah.
Let's get it. You have to have it in MLS.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The signs. I mean, some people will just see the sign. They're looking at something else, and then they'll see the sign, and then pop in. Right. The neighbors, of course, see all the signs, and neighbors are great. I mean, I enjoy when the neighbors come because they can tell me all about the neighborhood and you can get the conversations going. Sometimes they talk a lot too much, right? They'll tell you everything that's going on with the neighborhood, and then it helps other people that are coming out to see what the community is like in that particular neighborhood. So that's and then they may be potential future listing leads or buyer leads. There's sometimes renters in the neighborhood that want to buy. So some things that I do when the inventory is adequate and there's inventory I like to preview other homes in the area that I'm doing the open house. So go out let's say you're doing a Saturday open house, on Friday go out and preview the other homes so you know what the inventory is. So when someone comes in the open house, they say, well, I'm really looking for a ranch style, or I'm really looking for a 4-bedroom. Well, have you seen this house down here? And would it be helpful if I sent you some information on that? So it's a way to open up some dialogue with them. Helping the seller prepare is important, and when you're the listing broker, obviously securing or removing valuables, medications. I mean, there are people out there that are thieves, and there are people that have bad problems with opioids and things like that. They try to steal. I have had it happen in a Highlands Ranch open house where this woman, in her mid-30s, tried to come in and opens up the cabinet, right to where to go, the cabinet, and tried to take some painkillers, right? And so I caught her in the act, and and then I had to call the Douglas County Sheriff and all that, so it was weird, but definitely making sure the sellers secure valuables, and medications, helping the seller stage the house. And there's some things that I think we'll talk about getting ready as well for the open house that I think are nice to have in your toolbox that can help the open house, the feeling of the open house. The signs and signage. So sign placement companies are available. Listing Pro by Axiom is one that I've used before. And they will go out and actually place all your open house signs and pick them up for you. Okay, kind of a nice thing. And then they'll put a little thing by the front entrance that says it's open. Will be open this time. Have you guys used any services to do your signage? Okay. That makes it easy. If you're busy, you can schedule them to do it, and then they'll get it and get them and pick it up. It does cost. The prices keep going up because everything else has gone up, right? But it's something, and it depends on how many signs, of course, but they do need adequate time to be able to get that set up. And there's some other companies just becoming available now too. There was more available prior to COVID, and also in the market with the inventory of listings. And so they kind of went by the wayside, but now they're coming back because there's more inventory and more opportunities for these companies. So that's an option for you if you don't like putting the signs out. You can use somebody. But where do we put the signs, and what we'll talk about that. Just make sure they're visible. Make sure that you've got both sides. If you're on both sides of the road, that they're visible, and you've got the best direction into the house. And I like to do multiple signs. If it's a busy street, I like to have even 4 signs, 2 on each side, and then some type of flag or balloon or something to attract attention. As it gets in the neighborhood, sometimes you only have room for 1 sign. You have to check with the neighbors if you want to stick it in their yard, if it's or if you're using a tent sign on the sidewalk. But those are just making sure that it's logical and you don't have too many. The least amount of turns as possible is what you're trying to look for when you get into the neighborhood. And then if it's what's the best way, where you're going to get the most traffic from, right? And so I think that's pretty self-explanatory, especially with maps. You can find that all out. The sign-in sheet and electronic. I went through the electronic process. I was using an app called Spatio, which it was a little less money before, so I switched when KV Core came. I went to the KV Core app. I like having an electronic app and just having people fill it out on my iPad because that way there's no misinterpretation of what their spelling is, or that kind of thing. And I haven't had too much resistance. I think some people that if they don't want to sign up at all, probably not someone that that you're not hitting off. Or you don't want them to, you don't want to do business with them. And one way to get them to sign up is to give them something. Say, I'd like to send you an electronic copy of brochure, or you can give them, would it be helpful if I sent you a summary of homes in the area? And I just need your email address, and you could sign it up for them or have them sign up. So the one that, the KV Core one that I've been using, or Bold Trail that I've been using as of late, you can tie into the listing. It has a picture of the property, and it'll send a confirmation right away from the app when they sign up. So has anyone else used that?
I have.
What do you think of it?
I like it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and then it captures their information, so then they're on a drip campaign.
Everything's already set up.
Right, and then they track if, and you can customize the responses on that, as far as what it sends out to the prospect.
Yeah.
So that's important, because sometimes the boilerplate stuff may not be in your own language, right?
Yeah.
So and then if they start engaging and looking at listings on the website, then you'll get it'll tag that on your website, so you'll know, and you can follow up with them, right? So good. And the rest of you do more manual sign up then? Manual sign up with pen and paper?
I did. So I got at the dollar store just those tiny little clipboards.
Yeah.
And I just handed I had little sheets that fit on there.
Yeah.
And I just handed it to them when they came in with a golf pen, a pencil.
Yeah.
And I just said, I didn't even ask them for their information.
Mm-hmm.
I just said, I'd really love feedback on the house. The seller was really looking forward to
that's
it.
a good way.
And almost, I would say 80% of them put their contact information that was accurate on it.
Nice. Yeah.
And that was a huge, kind of changer for me.
Yeah. Very good.
Just
hand it
love
to
your
them,
feedback, and I had 10 of them.
Yeah, perfect.
Just
like this size or something?
No, they're tiny.
Tiny.
Yeah, they just put a 4x6.
Great idea.
Paper.
Yeah. And then they fill out their information, and then do they give feedback?
And then I have the feedback is the most important.
Nice.
Thing. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Because I just say, I really like to get my sellers feedback on what you think.
Right. Perfect. That's great.
So
good idea.
I wanted to quickly chime in.
Yeah.
And just totally plug this.
Yeah.
Bold Trail.
Yes.
So you can make these in seconds. And to Greg's point, the beauty of it is the follow-up game. So if anybody signs up, they receive a text message from you within 4 hours saying thank you for attending the open house. But most importantly, you can do hashtags associated with the address. So then anybody who registers, you have a hashtag so you can contact all of those people quickly and easily. And it does a lot of the work for you, that follow-up consistency. Not to mention, it looks pretty cool to have it sitting there.
Right.
So,
can you make a QR code? Is there a URL for that one?
I would assume you could make a QR code.
Yeah.
You would just generate it through any QR code generator.
So there's a URL with that.
Yeah. And the other piece, I'll do a video on this, but landing pages.
Yeah,
again,
I was going to talk about that.
Yeah. I don't want to.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. Please do. Landing pages on Bold Trail.
Yeah, this is something we talk about in our business building roundtables as well. Ticket giveaways, or there's all kinds of incentives, and you can create a similar landing page with pictures of your giveaway with a nice little sign-in sheet, just to give that added incentive to join or to sign up. Not to mention, the seller wants to know who's in my house today,
right?
Or their house today.
Exactly.
But I just wanted to make sure you saw that, and it's really cool. And it's a learning curve, like anything. You have to spend some time with it, but it's pretty easy, and it'll just really elevate the process for you.
Yeah. And I haven't had people really complain about filling it out. I mean, they actually get more people signing up with that than on the paper. So, but I think the feedback that you've asked for is a real key thing too. In doing that, with that you get that feedback. So that's great. Yeah, thank you, Paul. Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you for doing that. Yes.
There's another
a word from our sponsor, so to speak.
I use Curb Hero as well. That was really good.
Curbio?
You can link it to the lender if you have a lender inside. That's what I've been doing for the last open houses on my listings. I promote the lender will be there.
Yeah.
I guess it's easier to have people sign follow up with
Yeah.
data on it.
Right. Perfect. That's a great idea. Absolutely. What things do you guys have at your open house? What things do you bring with you for things for the, what's in your kit? What things do you have at your open house?
Water, snacks, for sure.
Snacks, fresh water, or water.
The covers for your shoes.
Covers for the shoes, good. Do you have examples like your home buyer guide or a seller's guide? Having an example of it is nice because if someone's interested in that and say, "Can I send you this? Would it be helpful if I send you this?"
Like a checklist?
No, just like a home buyer's guide. Like there's one in the Elevate. You can customize just a home buyer's guide with the home buying process. It could be. You could also have a one-page home buying process, kind of a flow chart kind of thing, and those I'll usually hand out to people along with the brochure. Some people, I've had sellers actually request I don't have brochures at the house, that we just have a QR code, and so that they have to open the QR code, then you collect their information, right? And so you just have a brochure stand with a picture, with the brochure and then a QR code for them to get the information. So that's another way to do it. But I like to have information there, neighborhood information, other listings, and I like to have a printout of it, but I don't like to have a bunch of them to hand out. Okay, just because I want to be able to engage with them and send it to them, follow up with them. So have an example of other properties, similar properties in the area, print out, and that could be done on RE Colorado. You could do it on RPR. I don't know if you guys use RPR much, but RPR has a nice presentation on I had a house in Cherry Park one time in Centennial, and it was interesting because the RPR came in a lot higher than so it was nice. It was definitely wasn't really tuned into where the market was at that time. So that buyers like they like that. So, and those are things that you can bring. Have an example of that, or they also have neighborhood market information. So they'll have all the market information for the neighborhood on that. Have an example of that, and ask them, would you like me to send this to you? But if you have a bunch of them, it's going to cost you more money to print them out, and also more time. And I think it's easier just to have one, and also gives you something you could follow up with the prospect on.
That shows like all the homes that are listed.
Yeah, shows homes listed. You can also have homes that have, you could have a market analysis, which supports the value of the home, shows the recent sales in the neighborhood. So those things would be helpful as well to really provide them information. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for information. They want to see how the house is, whether it's a neighbor. If it's a neighbor that's thinking about selling down the road, would it be helpful if I sent you a real estate review on the market and what's happening in your neighborhood? And it might be very helpful for them, right? So you can offer to do that. Measuring tape is something that's handy to have in case people need to measure rooms. I saw this idea that I'm going to start incorporating in a small Bluetooth speaker, because sometimes, you can't really figure out the audio system in their house, and so having a small Bluetooth, you can put some nice relaxing music, or, I wouldn't probably do AC/DC or anything like that, Probably something a little more calming than that, right? And so having a little small Bluetooth speaker is helpful to tie to your phone to play a little music. Scratch pads, coloring sheets. There's some on the Equity actually Elevate, coloring sheets and games for kids. Keep them entertained, because the kids, can get a little bit, unruly sometimes, right? So things like that. And also the parents kind of get a kick out of that if you hand the kids something to do, right? And then a few basic cleaning supplies, some Windex in case you get there and it's like, well, they didn't clean the counter after breakfast or something, you've got a few things you have to be ready for that. Sign placement, we talked a little bit about that as far as, certainly key intersections, the turn arrows, direction arrows, guiding people to get there. A lot of times, with mapping software, if it's advertised online, people are going to have it. It's pretty simple, but the signs will help people in the area that are driving around. I like to use one of these big signs at the house that they call them a feather sign that kind of blows in the wind. and they're not that expensive. The sign companies have those; are pretty reasonable. So this is one example of when Action did one for me for this house in Southeast Denver. They actually put this little sign here of what time the house was going to be open, okay? And they had placed all the signs for me.
When do you think is the best time to hold organize?
You know, myself personally, I like doing them 1 to 3. Some people like to do longer open houses. I like to concentrate the time because I think the more people you get in a shorter length of time, the more activity, it feels like there's more activity going on. And I've had some times where we've had 25, 30 people in 2 hours, you know. So it's certainly impressive for the neighbors and the neighborhood and the activity and potential buyers. So I like the 1 to 3 time frame myself. Some people go longer, 12 to 4. I just myself personally, I've just been successful with that time frame. Sometimes it has to be a little different if 12 to 2 or 2 to 4. Depends on what the schedule's like, what my schedule's like, or the seller's schedule. But typically 1 to 3 is what I might prefer. Anybody else have any thoughts on that? What you found to be most successful?
I did one that was like 9 to 11, and I had donuts and stuff, and that was probably my most successful.
Really?
one.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's on a Saturday or nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Everyone will come up for donuts, right?
I've moved them around because I have been playing with it. Like, is it a Friday afternoon? Is it a Saturday morning? Is it Saturday afternoon?
Yeah.
Like,
I've tried them in the afternoon, like on a Thursday. Had nobody. Yeah, like a Thursday afternoon, like from 3 to 5, thinking, after work and get people, and nobody. So there might be some areas where that's, would be more successful. But yeah, that 9 to 11 with donuts, and that's not a bad idea.
I've only done it once, but
Where was the property?
Southlands area.
Okay. Yeah. So normal residential suburban area. Okay.
Is that like Talon's Reach or?
No, well, over what was it? It was Smoky Hill and Piccadilly.
Mm-hmm.
So closer over by like Eagle Crest High School. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Good. Yeah. Anybody else? Any thoughts on the timing? How about yourself? What time do you use these? Or do your open
I
houses?
have tried 11 to 2, and then I moved to 1 to 3, and it's better 1 to 3.
Yeah.
It seems like between 11 to 2 p.m. it's a break between people going to lunch, and that it's just not much activity.
Yeah.
So I prefer in the afternoon.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Very good.
I like to see if there's an event going on.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Like,
Go ahead.
my park has their farmers market,
Yeah.
and talk about an insane open house if you want to have
I'll
one.
bet. What time is their farmers market?
I think they start at 9.
9. Yeah.
1, I think
Yeah.
is
So
what it is. So
yeah.
anytime you'll just get. I think it started at 9, and I did the 9 to 1, and I had people in there all day long.
Well, yeah.
And
It
it was too much. Like,
Right.
It was like.
Yeah. You can't even talk to anybody, right?
Yeah. And you're just worried about like someone stealing something or something. There's too many people out
Right.
house.
Yeah.
Opening all the closets at the end of it to make sure no one's hiding them.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Oh my gosh. Yeah. We'll talk about that, some security things, some safety ideas, and suggestions too, in a moment. But so placing signs early is a good idea. If you can have a sign that at the house that says, if you can get them out there in the morning, and say you're doing an open house 1 to 3, but you get your signs out there earlier than that. Let's say 8 o'clock in the morning, you'll get more exposure, and just have a sign at the property that says this house open 1 to 3. And so those are available at the sign companies, and they can put like magnetic numbers on there for the time and so forth. And I usually put a sign rider on the real estate sign with the time that it's open as well. They'll say open Saturday or open Sunday from 1 to 3 or whatever the time you have open. But if you get them out there early, I think that's a good idea. So showtime, getting things ready. And I wanted we can skip along because you brought up the safety question. So I wanted to talk about that for a moment. So as far as some of the protocol, And, you know, like you said, checking the closets. And it's always nice to have someone else do the open house with you. You know, a lender. My wife's a lender, so it's very fortunate we can. And she makes the best chocolate chip cookies, and they're like non-GMO Kerrygold butter. They're like the bomb, and so that's an icebreaker. So I tell them, you got to try one of these cookies. My wife made them, you know, and she'll be there a lot of times at the open house. So, but it's having those type of icebreakers gives something, and the kids love them, of course, and, you know. So they're just real good, or something like that. But doing an open house with someone else, whether it's another agent, and you can share the opportunities, or a lender, is like you do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with your mom. So
yep.
It's important because it can be kind of scary, especially when you have a lot of people, or if it's a vacant house, and it's even when it's quiet and there's some unsavory looking character that comes in, right? And so it can be kind of scary. So a couple things to keep in mind, you know, even when you're showing houses, or, you know, someone that you don't know, or doing open house, make sure that, you know, you're always between where they're at and the door. Okay, that you don't go down into a basement first, then you let them go explore the house and stay near the door. You know, if there's, you know, some people I will kind of watch them a little more closely. If they're acting funny, like looking in the medicine cabinets, things like that, I'll watch them more closely and kind of follow them around, right? And that's someone that's probably looking for some drugs or something, right? And you know, open a cabinet here and there is not a big deal, but if they're looking like at every place, every cabinet, it's kind of suspicious, right? So, but definitely all the safety protocol that you know when you're showing houses, it's very important with open houses. And you know, having someone else know what your schedule is, right? And calling them, let them know, you know, when you're done. That's important. Anything else you guys do as a matter of your normal protocol and to be more safe when you're doing open houses?
So do you get everyone's information, like their names and numbers?
Yeah,
Like,
I try to.
What if they don't want to?
If they don't want to, I can't force them to, you know, can't waterboard them or something, you know. But you know, they, you know, and they're probably not someone that's is gonna be a prospect anyway, right? But we do want to keep an eye on them if they're a security risk, right? If they're, you know, but we do. You guys say, you know, the seller likes feedback. We like to have everyone register for the open house. And here's the sign in, and I give them a brochure, have a cookie, you know. So I'm giving some other things while they're signing up, right? A lot of times there'll be a couple, and so one will be signing up while you're talking to the other one, you know. So, but no, I majority of people, I'd say probably 80% of people that I have visit will sign up. Okay, so, and sometimes they'll be in there and they'll say, well, I don't, you know, well, just your email address or just your phone number, you know, is fine. So, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that registration is important, because, you know, if they were holding their house open, they probably would want to know who's in their house. Right? So, yeah. Any other thoughts or ideas on that, or anything for
I just keep my phone with me.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
I haven't had any.
I will never do it by myself.
I've never
I
had
did
any.
it once.
Yeah.
8 years ago or something.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Was it?
So I'm lucky. My husband goes with me, and he plays the signs. So.
Yeah, nice. That's great.
We're a team.
Yeah,
we're
that's
this
perfect.
together, and
Right, exactly.
So the house.
Yeah.
We go to the same bucket. Let's do it.
Right,
and
exactly.
That's the motivation, and I don't know. I feel better. It's
Yeah.
easier also to talk with people.
Right.
If somebody else is there. For me, it's my husband. He's always there.
Yeah, that's a good point, because sometimes if you're there by yourself and then no one's there for a few moments, and then you're trying to, okay, I better wake up. And, you know, whereas if you have someone else there to talk to, you're staying more active, right?
Or if you have more than one people looking at the house, and he will be an amazing realtor. He can talk with anybody. Anybody.
What does your husband do?
He's in pharmaceutical.
Oh, okay,
He's
so
just
totally unrelated to real estate, but he's there to help you.
Company.
Yeah. Okay.
But he was in the Navy for 10 years, and then he got his career, but Paul knows him closely, and he's always like, you should do it.
Yeah,
you should try real estate. I'm like, amazing. He can talk to people, and at moments I'm like, I don't have anything else to say. And he's like,
that's great.
Jump in and gets like, he's my friend now.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, it definitely helps to have someone there, I think.
Plus for safety. In my case, it's better. I think,
absolutely.
Women's is just, it's not.
So when you're at the open house, do you guys sit in a chair? Do you stand the whole time? What do you guys do?
Stand. I
stand. Good. I stand too. I don't like to sit down. I think it's someone comes in. It's like, okay, what are you you taking a nap or what? So, but I always like to stand, and then I like to greet people, welcome to the open house, and say hello, and then with a warm greeting. What do you think? The open house guest's number one fear is? What do you think their fear when they come into an open house?
Being spammed.
Being spammed? Could be one. That might be number one nowadays.
Getting a car salesman.
Yeah. Car salesman, exactly. Being, I'm going to get, they're going to try to sell me something, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to run into this realtor that's like a used car salesman, right? So, and what do you think the real estate agent's number one fear is? Rejection. Rejection's good, right? Yeah, rejection. Well, I think also coming off too salesy, right? Mm-hmm. That's a fear, I think, for real estate agents. So, but also getting them to sign up, right? That's like, are they going to register, right? Or am I going to have anybody at the open house? That's one of my fears. Is everyone going to show up? Right? And so I think one of the ways to get around that is to be more service oriented. And I think most of all of you are. You don't seem like the used car salespeople type when you're dealing with people, right? And so what does it mean to you guys to be service oriented? What does it mean to you? How do you break the ice with your guests when they come in? That you're just meeting it for the first time.
I was just gonna find out why they came.
Yeah.
Like what brought you today?
Yeah.
Signs? Did you see it online? Are you on a mission?
Yeah. So warm greeting, kind of some basic questions. Beautiful day outside. What brought you in today? I'm a neighbor. I'm just kicking tires. Great, wonderful. We got some cookies over here. We got treats over here. And here's a brochure. Let me tell you a little bit about the house. Where do you live right around the corner, or where's your trying to just small talk with them and kind of try to just a really calm and inviting atmosphere for them, right? I think if the people jump on them, I like to give them information about the house, tell them a few things about the house, and get them to register, and then let them look around. So just take your time, look around, let me know if there's any questions. Here's some of the highlights of the home. They did this upgrade, they remodeled, and this year they whatever they may be, right? So give them some points about that, and take a look around, and let me know if you have any questions, and then make sure you grab a cookie so I don't eat them all, right? And that kind of stuff. So, and then I think listening to them versus talking with a big sales pitch, right? About yourself and your real estate. You need to find out more about them and what's important to them. So listening what they're all about and thinking long term as opposed to just trying to be transactional helps to have a service-oriented attitude when you're doing open house. And there's a phrase that I heard. It was on a Ninja podcast thing that I don't know if you've heard of Ninja Selling. It's another one, kind of like a Buffy kind of thing. But and that was, would it be helpful if? So kind of way to break the ice. Would it be helpful if I sent you this, or would it be helpful if I gave you a list of homes or sent you a list of homes in the neighborhood? Would that be helpful for you? So it's kind of, you're just trying to be helpful. You're not trying to be high pressure, and I think those things can try to break the ice with a lot of people. So and again, asking a discovery question: what brought you out today? Being resourceful would be helpful. Yeah, that's a bad typo there. Sorry, I just noticed that now. Other options in the area with you, and meeting the seller's neighbors and friends. I think turning casual visitors into advocates, right? You meet more people, and some of them you're going to click with, and you're going to create an advocate with them. So again, more and more people coming out. So listening for local insight from the neighbors when they come in. They might have some insight, about the neighborhood that you didn't know, right? Something that, or something about a house that, maybe they're for sale by owner, just went up down the street, you didn't know about it. We'll tell you about that. And then, so listening for referrals and local insight from the neighbors and friends. So menu of questions. These are some examples of questions, and curious how long have you been looking for a home? Again, depending on what your first kind of soft probing questions are, find out what more information that you can provide to them, and could be that it's maybe just kind of a brief conversation. You find out about them. First time buyers, we're looking at how long have you lived in the area? Where are you from? Oh, Minnesota, right, or wherever. Oh, great. Well, welcome to Colorado. So you just kind of break the ice with some questions like that about themselves and see what their situation is. And if you can be helpful or not. Many people you're not going to be helpful. If everyone came into an house that was a prospect, then you'd be overwhelmed, busy, right? But there's going to be a small percentage that are, and that percentage could be one person that open house that you click with, and that's a great opportunity. Like we were talking earlier, the one guest out of 3 that came into that open house that led to 26 transactions, or your first open house you did that has led to 5 transactions, right? So it's a long-term aspect, or long-term thought process, and also just being out there, keeping busy, previewing houses, keeping busy. It's going to attract more business to you. So those are all things, and again, these are all good questions to have, in your arsenal, and it just really depends on how the engagement goes, and as the qualifying questions you ask just really depends on what feedback you get from that open house visitor, right? So, any thoughts on that, or anything you guys have found that you've breaking that?
Yeah, questions.
Yeah.
2 questions actually. So I'm like brand new to real estate.
Yeah.
So is this PDF available online?
Yeah, we're gonna send it out. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll send it out. Yeah.
You're gonna email it and
Paul,
everything.
pardon?
You're like email it to us, or
Yeah.
Okay.
Paul will send it out. Probably post it on the. I'll ask Paul in a second. We'll probably email to you guys that visited here directly, and then post it on the Facebook page. So, yeah.
Okay. And my second question was like, I hear Craigslist. You can find like sometimes for sale by owner, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
How often do you find success on Craigslist?
I used to use Craigslist a while ago, and I haven't used it for years.
Okay.
I used to use it for open houses, for just listed, and that type of thing. Anyone else using Craigslist anymore?
I used it a long time ago, especially on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have like a Craigslist Facebook page, but it seems to me that like that page was bought by an agent, a realtor.
Oh,
and
really?
Then that person doesn't let you post anything about your listings.
Really?
Real estate or anything
Interesting.
like that. It's just like, what's going on? But then also on the website, stop using it.
I think there's so much more exposure with LinkedIn, with Facebook, and those type of things that I don't think. And Facebook with Facebook Marketplace now, and there's also certain groups you can join on Facebook for certain
Social
areas.
media
Yeah,
has
it's
a
all sorts of
lot. I
groups.
was very against TikTok. But I have a 14 years old, and I was like, this is the deal. You want to have TikTok? You use my account. You can only use my account.
Right.
And then you post my listings and my activity on TikTok. Because I really, really don't like it.
Right.
And then I have a person that I pay to do my marketing on Facebook and, social media. But just last week, I have like 1,200 people looking at my video in my open house.
Really?
And he was like, I'm having more time on TikTok. Just like,
that's something I have not signed up for TikTok yet.
I
just was like kind of refusing
the
to
system
do another social
Yeah,
media.
I doom scroll all the time.
Do you really?
Every night.
Oh my gosh, yeah. there's so much.
I like
stuff
it,
on
but people still think open
like,
house.
shoot, I should be working.
I should be
or
working.
doing something.
Oh, you got to go down the rabbit hole. Huh?
Well, you're young. That should be so good.
Try to overnight and you
I should. The thing is, like, I deleted all my social media accounts after I graduated high school. I'm like, I don't really find any need for it. So
You have to go back to
Gotta
it.
sign back up.
I'm
now.
connected to the real world. That was a mistake. I should have kept in contact
Yeah,
with some old buddies from high school. At least.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was very against it. And
I regret
then
that, so.
he told me, like, you see, it works.
Yeah.
So, my first client in real estate 26 years ago was a friend I've known since high school.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I should at least text someone. So.
Yeah. So that. I mean, that was before social media. But so we had just kept in touch. And
Yeah, I
we
should try to reconnect and stuff.
became good friends. Yeah, we were still good friends, right? So it's interesting. You never know. I mean, there's people from, relationships are, you think of them as lifelong relationships for many people, right? For some people, you may not have that much connection with, but for a lot of our clients that we work with, I look at them as lifelong friends and advocates, and it's just the way. It's a fun way to do business.
Yeah.
And so you'll realize that as you do more, you're going to have people that you'll continue to keep. So old friends are great to keep in touch with. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah. Any questions on or any thoughts on any of the questions, breaking the ice, anything like that you guys anything that you guys do that you found to be very, very successful and that wore a clown suit? No, I was kidding.
Might skip that one.
The Chick-fil-A cow.
Yeah.
I told my teenage son I was going to hire him to do the signs.
There you go.
No,
Not a bad
fun
idea.
to watch.
Like, he needs to get a job. He's
Right?
16. Like, go sit down for
Go
me.
to the open house. There you
Well, because
go.
the last 2 weekends I've done the open house for Allie,
Uh-huh.
and it's past Murphy Creek. What is that? Harmony.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it's a bad area because
Because
it's
it's
just
so
there-
far.
we didn't get anybody.
Yeah.
And so I was like, maybe it's the signs, but there was another realtor with Remax that was having the same issues.
Mhm.
And our signs were like almost in the same spot. So I'm like, okay, well, my signs are in a good spot.
Is it right by the new construction? All the new construction out there? Or?
Yeah. Well, if you take Jewel to, what is it, Powhatan,
Mhm.
it's out there.
It's out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only way to get out there is almost the
470
country.
or Gun Club.
Mhm.
Yeah, those are tough sometimes, those
Yeah.
open houses. I've had some, like, had a listing in Perry Park, and it's pretty far in Perry Park, and but we had some people. We had, I mean, in 2 hours we had like 6 groups of people, which for that far out wasn't bad.
Mhm.
Got some exposure for it, but it was one that I was like, I don't know how this is going to work. It's way out here, and are we going to get anybody? And so, but at least 6 showed up. Did you get anybody? No.
No, in 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah. Well, probably one I probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't do again. Then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some houses just aren't. And there's certain areas they're just not a draw for open houses, right?
Yeah.
So, I was gonna say if there's a lot of new construction right there, signing it from the new construction model homes
Mhm.
is really effective because there'll be people visiting those and then getting them to directly signs from there. Yeah. We talked about safety already, so we talked about that. Post open house follow up and building relationships. So try to stay top of mind. What's our time for now? Oh, we're good. We're good. So how to stay top of mind? Personalized handwritten notes if you have their addresses, or a text, or an email, right? And then the drawings are kind of fun because they have to give you information for the drawing, right? And if you do a drawing where you say, well, I'm going to deliver this after the open house, so we'll need your, get their address, right? So that's kind of fun.
Can you promote the drawing in the MLS when you go? I don't think so.
I don't do it in the MLS. No, you can't do it in the MLS.
In the notes,
No.
are you allowed to? Because it's not a commission,
What are they
right?
going to do? Are they
Yeah.
going to yell at you?
It's not commission.
Well, I don't
It's
want
not,
to
it's
get in
not a
trouble.
commission. It's not a commission.
I've
Actually,
never
I
been
don't see any-
fined.
I don't see any
say
problem with it. I haven't put it in the MLS myself, but
Yeah.
I don't see any problem with it. Yeah.
Because they say if you,
This
you know,
is
like,
not
are you
commission.
gonna have snacks? Are you gonna have like
Right.
that's even
Yeah.
a drop down.
That's a good idea. Put in the drop down.
Yeah.
Actually, I have done that before. Now that I think about it, I have done coming for a drawing.
Yep.
Or if a lender's going to be there, a lender's going to be on hand, and then snacks and refreshments, right? So yeah. Champagne, no, I don't. I've done some. I've done some where I've done broker open houses and with a big spread and some nicer listings, but those seem like they're not that effective myself. There's some homes that'll get a good turnout from brokers, but
I have one today if anyone wants to come.
oh really? Where's it at?
In Inglewood,
Oh, okay.
2948 South Clarkson Street.
Uh-huh.
Right,
Okay.
like by Bates Logan
Uh-huh.
Park there.
Is it a duplex or is it a
No, it's a house.
house?
Yep.
Nice.
Big.
What price point?
1.69.
Yeah. That's a good price point. So
So,
hopefully.
yeah.
So what are you enticing the agents to?
So I'm doing a drawing for a bottle of Veuve Clicquot
Oh, nice.
Rosé.
Nice.
If they give me their
Yeah.
information.
There
So
you go. Good.
We'll see.
And
See
then-
how it goes. The first one I've ever done.
Right. Well,
So
we'll
Give it a
look forward to
shot.
hearing how it goes. Yeah. That's great. I've done some caravans with agents, other agents from other companies that had listings in a certain area. So the activity wasn't as busy, and so they organized a caravan. So we all went to each house as a group of agents and gave feedback, so the seller could get feedback because it was this is out in Larkspur, and there just was very little showings during that particular time period, and it was a good time to get feedback to the seller on why and what the other agents thought. So yeah, that's a good idea though. Broker open house. I mean, I'd be curious if you, I mean, in that area you'll probably get a pretty good
we'll
good
see.
turnout. So
It's not an invite out to 500 people. So
nice.
I got 5 responses.
Hey,
I'm not super, but hey, it's 5 responses.
that's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Cool.
Well, if
We'll
you
see.
need someone to partner up with you, I'd be happy to help you out. Maybe I can refer maybe 1 or 2 people, just send them a text or something. So.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Good idea. So the contest, talk about that. So that's something I think is a real good idea, and something that you could follow up right away. You could, depending on what like if you're going to do it, if you're doing several open houses for that one giveaway, it's best usually just for each open house do a giveaway, and then gives you an opportunity to follow up with them right away. Well, you didn't win. This other person won, but I just wanted to let you know it was great to meet you. Thanks for stopping by the open house. Are there any questions you have? So you can follow up with the people that didn't win as well as the one that won. They're going to be really excited, right? You guys probably have already some follow-up systems in place, CRM, where you provide items of value, maybe a newsletter, email, or market updates, those type of things. So the KV Core program, or Bold Trail, I keep wanting to call it the old name, but that has a way to automatically do some of that for you with the email follow-ups and text message follow-ups with listings and so forth. So that can help you with that when people sign up and save you some time. So as Paul mentioned earlier, I think offering to be a help if they need if you need anything, contractor recommendation, those type of things, offering those things, offering and consistent. Remember, most buyers that come to open house are going to be 3 to 6 months down the road if they're more urgent, and some could be a year or 2 years before they end up doing something. But if you have a way to keep in touch with them, that'll work out. Eventually, you're going to build a nice, solid base of business. And when I first started, you're brand new in the business. I did open houses almost every weekend, probably at least 3 weekends out of the month. And there was a lot of agents that didn't want to hold their homes open themselves, their listings themselves. So I did it for them, and I started building up a list of prospects that I would keep in touch with. Send them my newsletter. This was prior to a lot of email blasts going out, right? So I would send them my paper copy, hard copy newsletter. Do that, and then eventually the first month I had a closing, but then I didn't have anything for 6 months, but then I had 5 closings. So that building that up is going to help, right? So that's something that if you keep at it, keep at whatever you feel most comfortable at, right? Whatever part or whatever way you like to keep in touch with people, that's going to help you build that business. So, any thoughts or questions on that? This is a client that I met at open house. Actually, it was kind of interesting. They were there, and they and we just hit it off great. And they interviewed like 5 agents. It was pretty fun. So, but they were the most thorough in their interview process of anyone. They were first time buyers, and they're older for first time buyers, but a lot of people are now because of the cost of homes, right? But they were just very thorough in the interview process. And I don't know if I've ever had anyone that was that knowledgeable going into an interview for an agent. And I was very pleased that they selected me, right? So, and my wife did their mortgage, but they were. So anyway, that was a Highland Ranch, and then a buying a house in Highland Ranch, and we kept in touch now. Been to dinner a couple times afterwards. So, yeah. But any other thoughts? Anything you'd like to share? Any questions you have for me?
I mean, for me, I don't even have like my own set of business cards yet, since I still new. So
well, you better get those going.
Probably do that before I even start opening houses and stuff. So.
Equity Elevate, you can get all that stuff.
I have a question about that actually. So, do you recommend? I don't need to have my picture yet, taking my business picture, headshot and whatnot. I was wondering, should the business card just be like a plain one, or
you should have a plain one.
Should I have my picture on it?
Well, you can get a plain one now to have a business card, but you can get your picture done a lot of places pretty reasonably.
Because my dad, he's also a real estate broker. He wants to just take the picture himself for me because it's pretty expensive. So.
Right. Well, but certainly if you have a good camera, the lighting is important, right? If you have the lighting is the biggest.
He just ordered the background is just. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just waiting on that to arrive. So.
Yeah, I could do that. There's sometimes you'll see. Keep an eye on I've seen builders at their models. They'll offer a day where they'll do free photographs for realtors to come in and get a headshot. Okay. So you'll see or other vendors that cater to our business. They'll offer a free headshot, so those are things to look out for too. Yeah. But certainly, if you have good lighting, I mean, get something out there. You got to start getting something out there. And you got to get on social media again too.
I did my husband's when he was in real estate. And
it came out good?
Yeah, it was fine.
Good.
iPhones are great now. Just put it in portrait mode.
It's amazing.
A little bit of editing.
Yeah.
I mean, you could even put it into an app that has a program just to kind of smooth it out and mess with the lighting.
It's amazing now what you can do with AI.
And he used that for years until he passed the reins to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you were his mentor for a long time.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too complicated to figure out the lighting. I'm sure.
No, it's so easy. And honestly, I used a sheet. I used a black sheet and just put it up on a wall with some thumbtacks.
Okay.
And
that works.
It worked.
Yeah. I mean, this wall's for fine color here too.
Yeah.
Or this wall.
Go find a nice tree.
Yeah.
And you can look outdoorsy.
Yeah. Look like your senior high school picture.
Yeah.
The tree. Yeah. No, I would just start getting it done. I think the biggest thing is just reaching out to people that you start developing your database of relationships, and just seeing what they have a friend or family member they would refer to if they had a real estate need.
Yeah, right? Totally. I can totally I have a childhood friend I can reach out to and maybe ask their parents as well.
Yeah.
Like, hey, if you or anyone wants any business, just ask me. So.
Right. Just keep working that. So and open houses are a great way to meet people that are going to be in the business too. So I hopefully this was helpful. A lot of it's I don't know that a lot of things have changed in doing open houses. There's a few more tools with social media and with just the way we can register people and sign up people. But I think just being ready to go. Since you've done several weeks, you probably have everything ready to go. Yeah. So you can get everything. It's not it doesn't take too long. You're not reinventing everything every time. So have your signs ready to go, have your materials ready to go, and then it just becomes more automatic for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool.
Do you do anything differently for people that walk in that already are working with an agent? Do you ask them?
You know, and the sign up sheet will say if they're working with an agent. I don't ask them if they do. Or they say I'm working with an agent. Oh, great. You know, they see on their registration, on the electronic registration. Well, great. Who are you working with? I might know them, and sometimes they'll not remember, so they're probably just
they don't want an agent.
That's why I never ask.
Right.
I'm just like, if you're going to talk to me, you're probably not working with an agent.
Right. And some will say, yeah, my agent sent me. Okay, and I go, great. You know, who's your agent? I'd love to get feedback from a seller. So I ask if they're, a lot of times, if they're really serious and they're a serious buyer working with an agent, they'll list it on the registration form because it'll ask if their agent is on that registration form. I don't ask them directly unless I see it on the registration, but or they say something and I'll ask them. But you know, and then it's great. We'll take your time, look around. You know, if your agent has any questions, I'll be happy to answer their questions. And you know, this is about the house, and I treat them pretty much the same, except for I probably won't pry as much. I'll just give them the basics about the house and say, take your time, look around. Let me know if you have any questions, and if your agents have any questions or would like further information, have them get in touch with you.
Okay.
So, and that's typically on my listing, right? That I'm doing those. So if it wasn't my listing, if there was someone else's listing, then I would probably say refer to the listing broker for any questions for the sale. You know. Yeah. Anything else? Any other questions or thoughts? Very good. All right. We'll send this email out, and there is one thing. There is an agent that couldn't make it, but he did want to let everybody know about his opportunity for his open house. His name is John Griffin, right?
John Griffin.
Yeah, let me find the house. It's 1 Wingfoot, right?
I think so.
And I think I want to hold it open, actually. This one here, 1 Wingfoot way. Say that 10 times really fast. It's $1,890,000, the RVM from, and this is an example of what you can do with RPR. So this would be nice to print this at the house because the RVM comes out higher than the value of the house, and shows the RVM range. But the house is, and I'm not sure why it doesn't have the MLS picture populated right there, but the historical pictures will show the house. They've rehabbed it. It was for a fix and flip. But the fireplace is really nice. Yeah, they did a nice job with this. But it might be one I want to hold open even because it's pretty easy. It's right by Columbine Country Club in Burning Tree, and easy to sign right off of Platte Canyon. So it's a neat area. But he says it can be held open anytime. So, and do we have is John Griffin, right?
John
Griffith.
Yeah, Griffith.
And let me see, I have his phone number in my email. It is.
Isn't there another agent that has a house listed right there, or did she go under contract?
Yeah, Katie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's 615-484-5063.
I think they teamed up at one point, a couple weekends in a row. So that would be something too.
Yeah, I think it's a great. If you look at the address, you look at the map, it's really easy to sign, and it's a great area. I think it's something that I think would be a great opportunity. You never know, obviously, as we've discussed. Some open houses can be busy, but I think doing some of the things that we've talked about today can set you up for success. Yeah, very good. All right, thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. Thanks for letting me meet everybody here and hang out. So yeah, well, yes. Put it in a thimble. No, I was kidding.